be here. Um, so they asked me to speak about how you can recognize burnout, which is a very, very prominent problem in the workforce. And I know because I work in the NHS and there's a lot of people falling ill, and even one of my colleagues dropped dead last year from saying one of the problems in burnout is that people don't say no to more work, and they just drain themselves and they go past their healthy energy depletion, and it can even lead to sudden death. So that's why it's one of the reasons why I'm very passionate about warning people to recognize the signs and symptoms in themselves or others early, so that you can say to these people, wake up, you have to change something, because if you keep on doing the same thing, it's gonna be a disaster. So what I want to talk to you about today, first a little intro to see how familiar you all are with burnout, then a little bit about who I am and why I am talking about burnout, and then also we'll discuss the definition of burnout, the signs of burnout, and then the risk factors. And then I have a few examples to demonstrate how important it is to have a healthy mindset and emotional state to influence your own health, and some science experiments that were done on that. And then I'll just end up with the program that I've created that is very holistic and that approaches all aspects of life, because it's all about finding balance in life and not giving all your energy at work and having nothing left for at home, or the other way around. I mean, so it's all about finding how can I fit in all the aspects of life, including spirituality, taking care of my own health, having time for friends and hobbies, having time to be at home with your loved ones. All of that has to have some time in your life, otherwise you get out of balance. So that's how I work with people, on first looking at what is out of balance and then having a plan towards creating a better equilibrium between all aspects of life. So this is a beautiful photo of mother and daughter being balanced, and it's not a coincidence that women are here because I think you are aware that some of us have a problem, while there's a lot of men out there who are not realizing that they're working themselves to death. And I've done this talk to many young people who just realized, like, oh my God, I'm so happy you told me this, because I need to change. It's not right what I'm doing. Hello. So it's useful for all ages, but I must say the 2 times that I had burnout was as a student, working really hard as an emergency doctor while studying, and the second time when I had my first baby and then wanted me back at work straight away. And again, this is this shock in your life that happens where there's really an overload and there's too much demand on your time and energy, and then you just kind of implode or explode. I'm not the exploding type, I'm the imploding type. So I am a real doctor. At the moment I'm operating 18 cataracts a week in Cardiff, where I've moved to recently. And I'm very proud that in my profession we can help people see physically, and then with my spiritual work I can also help people see the non-physical world and experience angels and things. That's something I'm very, very fond of. So I am a widow, and I have been blessed with 3 beautiful children, and I also take care of 3 cats and 1 golden retriever. And these are my 3 children. And so, as I already said, why am I talking about burnout? They did statistics, mainly in America, where they interviewed workers, and half of them were depressed, had low energy, 30% was diagnosed with burnout, and 10% was diagnosed with suicidal thoughts or something. The statistics were horrible, and it's all linked. It starts with being tired and overworked, but it can all go down that way, and that's why I'm very eager to bring the awareness to certain workplaces, especially healthcare workers themselves get very much overworked, but there's other stressful jobs like air control, ambulance workers, people working in intensive care, maybe also people who work in the bank, or if there's anybody else here who thinks they have a very stressful job, add to the list of people who are at risk for burnout. And I wanted to ask you, who here has experienced burnout already? Or knows anybody who has experienced it? No?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? So most of you are novices. So I already said that I had burnout myself twice, and the first time when I was a student, I was on call 2 weeks. I was like the registrar on call 2 weeks in a row, 24 hours a day. So day and night for 14 days. Because the other registrar was studying for the exam that I also had to do at the end of the 14 days. But I didn't get any sleep during the 40 days. It was like crashed at the end of the 14 days of continuous work without a rest. So the morning of my exam, I just couldn't get out of bed. I just couldn't move. I was so drained, and like my body just like wouldn't move anymore. And that's one of the signs of burnout, is that it's very hard to get out of bed. Very hard. Your body's not regenerated overnight. Luckily, I had quite a good doctor at that stage who gave me a lot of supplements, like high volumes of minerals and vitamins and all of that. And I probably got out of it very quickly, and I didn't have it long, but it was like a really physical burnout and exhaustion. And one of the aspects that I teach people is what you actually can put in your body through food or supplements that actually sustains your energy levels. There's a lot of things that you can take easily that will help with that. The second time I had burnout, I was actually a very successful vitreoretinal surgeon at that time, and then I had my first child, and then I had to go straight back to work without recuperation. And of course, as you know, young mothers don't sleep much because they constantly have to get up to the baby. So again, it's that lack of sleep that pushed me over the edge, and not being able to cope with a change in my life circumstances. So of course it goes out of balance because I should be there for my baby, but they wanted me at work, and then I just start lying awake at night like, oh, I don't want to go to work, I want to be with my baby, but if I don't go to work, I lose my job, I lose my house, I lose my income, which is all that happened. So that's why I'm really aware of young working women who have their first children, that like most of them luckily have a support system of parents and family around them that know that they need a lot of support. But it's not underestimated when you're a career woman and you then want to throw into the equation having children. It's a big change that has to take place, and if they're not prepared, and if they think they can just keep on working as before, which my male colleagues thought I should be doing, it's not realistic. That some change has to happen. Some adaptations have to happen. Something has to give to make place. So that's another group of people I want to create awareness to. And I don't want anybody else to go through what I went through. So I ended up having conflict with my male colleagues because they didn't understand why my performance was less than before. I also had a lot of pelvic instability from the pregnancy, and I had a Caesar that was complicated and infected and stuff like that. Still, they wanted me to perform as before without any time for healing. Big mistake. So the conflict, not getting support at work, drove me towards burnout for sure. I had all the symptoms, which are, I don't know what you recognized in the person that you know with burnout.
It was more like insomnia, it was me.
Yeah.
I just couldn't switch off.
Yeah, that's one of the signs.
I couldn't sleep, and that was terrible. Not even sleep, horrible.
Yeah.
For a whole week.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can believe it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I was like a zombie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't.
I've had the same thing for months actually, and then it really exhausts your whole system, and then you can't perform at work anymore because you can't focus, because you're just like a zombie, as you say. So in the medical world, people start making medical mistakes, which can lead to lawsuits, which can lead to loss of not only their profession, but also often people with burnout start being very short-fused, so they make enemies, because if anybody says anything to them that is, you know what, normally we would just laugh away, but because they're so on edge, they can like be very aggressive towards an environment at work as well as at home. So often people who suffer from burnout start having problems with their relationship at home, because the partner would say like, oh, I'm worried about you, leave me alone, why do you always have to tell me this? So they get very irritable. It creates a split at home also. And if people don't treat this, a lot of them not only lose their job but also their relationship, their marriage falls apart. I was lucky that didn't happen to me at that stage, because my husband saw what was happening to me and he said like, you have to get out of this place, they're not supporting you, this is not good for you, let's just go to a place where you can heal. And I took 6 months off, and it was the best decision of my life, and it was the first time I actually bonded with my baby that I hadn't done the first year. So yeah, it was a very, very painful lesson. And also to go to lots and lots of doctors who say to you like, oh, it's all in your head, and then why can't I walk, and I can't get on the stairs, and this and that, and I'm so tired, and oh, it's all in your head. And then they, you know, they didn't have words. Now people are diagnosed with chronic fatigue or diseases that they really can't see in your blood, but people have all the symptoms. And yes, there's no doubt about people have, the mind is important and emotions are important in your healing, but sometimes circumstances just are so heavy for a body that they crash in a way, and it's also a call for help. And then I feel that medicine often doesn't help these people. It has to be dealt with in a more holistic way, where I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but that's my experience. It has to be dealt with in the total body. It doesn't help if you can't sleep and your GP tells you just drink a glass of wine at night. That's what I got from my GP when I said I can't sleep at night. And I was not happy with that. I don't think that's a solution. There's a lot more to do. I mean, yeah, it's nice to get that as a prescription, but so in any case, that's why I'm very passionate about this. And when I first started researching this, there was no definition of burnout. It was not recognized at all. Now they started to have a few definitions. They say that burnout is a breakdown of coping mechanisms, and also people are not being able to deal with the outside pressure in a healthy way. A healthy way would be able to say like, no, I can't do that, I already have enough work on my plate. But some people have characters where they can't do that. So this leads to feeling out of balance, and this in the worst case scenario can lead to depression and other diseases. So when you feel this bad and you're so exhausted, your immune system goes down, so you have a high risk of catching infections and also of getting cancer. And of course, I already mentioned, it's not good for your career and for your relationship. So we already spoke about people lying awake at night worrying. That is very common. I interviewed several people about this, and then I wrote down all of their symptoms, and these are the main symptoms. So feeling exhausted all the time, struggling to get out of bed, disliking your job, and then relationships falling apart, and feeling overwhelmed with the home life responsibilities, as well at home as at work, and yeah, the lying awake at night. If you have a few of these signs, feel free to come and have a quick talk with me afterwards, and we can see. I have a questionnaire actually on my website, so you can tick it up and see how far you are in the spectrum of burnout. So there were not many people who've experienced this, so you're all doing really great in your balanced lifestyle. So that must be the Cumbrian air. So what do you think, because this is small for you to read, what do you think are some of the risk factors that can lead to burnout?
Heart attack.
And how does that work? What comes first, you think?
Stress.
Mm-hmm. That's it. And this is the main problem in our society. It leads to, again, stress leads to raised cortisol levels in the blood, which drops your immune system so that cancer cells can grow and infections can flare up, like candida and stuff like that. So